Hello to all of you who are interested in landscape and especially wildlife photography, who do not have too much money, who do not want or can spend thousands of euros on expensive professional camera equipment. I would like to show you how I do that myself because I resent expensive equipment, as I believe art and photography should be available to anyone who likes to do that. So if you are interested in taking amazing pictures without having expensive equipment, which is normally necessary for wildlife photography, please stay and have a look, and I hope I can give you some of my advice and my experience for you to make that possible too. First of all, I use a Nikon D5300, and I have bought a second-hand lens on eBay, a Tamron 70-300 zoom for €100. So altogether that's around 600, €650, which you can afford most of the time, even if you pay monthly. But it's not so expensive. It's not thousands. I would like to start in the beginning with my photography, where I used to not live in a countryside area of nature reserve like I do now. When I used to live in the city and I just had a park available, and I started to take pictures of the squirrels there. I even saw early morning, late evening, I saw a fox. We have had foxes there. Most cities have foxes because of the food, so you just have to find them. And just like in the countryside, in the city, the squirrels are very beautiful and cute animals. And this picture, I believe, to me is very special, as it represents something that you don't know where this picture is taken. It could very well be a tree in the countryside. You simply don't know, and it it is it is something that everyone can do and everyone can afford. Just to go to the park somewhere, take a bus or a train, whatever you have available, and then you look for the animals, and you have to spend the time for them, to be with them and to know where they are and how they move, and how you can take the pictures without disturbing them. So you can start like this with very little money, very simple, to look for an area which is close by where you live. And the next step is going to the countryside. If you don't live in the countryside, you can probably take the train, easier if you don't have a car, and you find the place first of all on the map, and you have a look what animals could be there, and then you go out and spend time there whenever you can. And the more you spend time, you find the animals, like this picture here. That was really not planned at all. It was a little family walking across the road, of course in May, where you have the time where the animals have their babies. And they were so cute and curious, and there was this one little not running away and hiding behind the leaves, and being curious, and I could take pictures. So that was a very beautiful meeting, and I love that picture very much. Or like this one, that was a weekend trip to the countryside, where I knew some animals would be, the stork would be there, but I was lucky that I was just behind a tree when I saw this stork there, and he was picking in the field for some food, and I just had a few seconds. I stepped out of my hiding place behind the tree, and I took the pictures, and within a few seconds he of course noticed me and went away. But it was not planned, but still it was a very beautiful moment. Well, to find kites and eagles, that is a bit more difficult. But of course, the more you spend time in nature, the more you find out where they live and what area they need to live in. I have kites and some eagles a bit further away here, and deer, of course, so I'm surrounded by them. But for the kite and eagle photography, I have discovered an area which is about 60 kilometers from here, and there is a ranger who is taking me and whoever wants to do that on the boat, and so I can concentrate without being on the boat myself. I could do that, of course. We have so many lakes here, and I know where I have all the different kinds of birds at the lakes, but I don't have a boat, and I would have to rent a boat or buy a boat, and it is not so easy to transport. So it is much nicer to have someone on the boat so I can concentrate on my camera. But with animals, it is not necessarily happening all the time when I'm on the boat that the eagle or the kite is landing next to you on the water. Most of the time they are, but not always. The most wonderful pictures I take is when I'm completely alone in nature and when I don't plan something. And that is very rarely, because with wildlife photography you do have to plan it. But sometimes it happens really accidentally that you take a great shot and you experience a wonderful moment. So those, I suppose, I love most. The easiest time for you probably to take pictures, especially of baby animals, is in spring, of course, when they are very little. And you need to know that only that time gives you the chance to come close, even without a hiding place. Because as soon as they reach a certain age, they tend to naturally get afraid of humans. So in the very first few weeks, you find that they are curious, but they are not afraid. Even they should be, but of course they are too young. So if you find out, and it can take a few years or 1 or 2 years at least until you know the time when they get born, like this little fox babies here. At that time they were very curious, and I found out where they live, and that sometimes changes from year to year. So they were so curious, and I was just a few meters away with my simple equipment, laying in the grass, and I could take pictures until they finally disappeared. For those pictures here, the deer and the cranes on the peninsular Dars, which is north of me here, right at the ocean, I have rented a professional lens, a 600mm zoom, but you pay now €60 a day. So if you rent it for 1 or 2 days, you're still in a range where even with little money you can afford that. So I went there on a sunny day, and so many people and so many photographers were there, as there always are in October at that place. And I thought, no, they are too far away. The deer is too far away and is too crowded. So I spent 10 days at the ocean, and I was looking for a time, of course in October it happens easier, that it's raining, because then people are not there anymore. But you need to know that deer doesn't like rain either, just like us humans. They're hiding, they go into the forest. So I was looking for a day with rain so that there would be no tourists, but a time of the day where the rain would stop, as of course here we very rarely have the whole day rain. So I found it actually the next day. There was supposed to be 2 hours no rain, at lunchtime. So I went there, and as planned, there were no tourists. I think there were 1 or 2 people besides me there, because no one likes to go for a walk there in the rain. And then at lunchtime, it truly stopped. I mean, it was not sunny, but it was a very beautiful light when it stopped. So I was standing there, and with my camera, I was waiting, and I thought, well, there's the female deer, and I was waiting for the stag to appear. And because I know how the female deer reacts to the stags, and the female deer turned around in a way that I knew the stag was coming. So I didn't leave there, and a few minutes later, the stag appeared, and the whole family of the deer was there, and there was only me and 1 other photographer taking those amazing pictures. But it was also the moment to feel it, to be there, to see it with my own eyes, fairly close, this beautiful, beautiful family of animals. But of course, the camera is not silent, and so you need to know, for animals, that is very difficult. You need to have a hiding tent, and you need to stay there very long, sometimes overnight. Animals, if you disturb them, you will not have them very long around you. I promise you that. For this picture, I was actually climbing up there. Yes, I did. And that if I had known how hard it is to climb up there with a heavy bag of camera equipment, with water, with food, I probably would not have done it. So I'm grateful that I didn't know that before. And if you ask yourself, how did she get back there? Well, as usual, when I'm in the darkness in nature, after taking pictures, I have a very good flashlight, and to be quite honest, I never had a bad experience. I don't do it very often. Normally, I only go there just before sunrise, and then I stay for the sunrise and with the animals, and then the early morning light is nice, and then I leave. But for places like this, I very rarely do that. So those places are so far away that, of course, it takes a few hours to walk. And that way, I just simply say I take the risk. Because from my experience, animals, if you have especially a big, bright flashlight, they don't tend to go to you. I've never experienced that. To be honest, that's not natural for an animal to do that. If you would live in an area like Canada or Sweden where you have bears, then I would say don't do that. But if you are in a country where you don't have bears, even wolves, I live here, I know exactly where we have the wolves in my forest here. But I would dare to go there. I'm not afraid. I would just never ever take my dog. So if you need to just know where the animals are, you're safe. In saying that, of course, the animals always know where you are. You can only guess where they are. And of course, they are in the forest at nighttime. But that is something you have to decide for yourself. The ranger from the Lake District recently asked me if I would like to or consider giving workshops for photographers with no professional equipment doing the wildlife photography. And I was very grateful for that offer, but I said that I am not so keen on humans. So I prefer to give my advice and experience this way to anyone who might need some advice. And that way I hope that I can make it a little easier for people who start in that photography of wildlife. And I spend more time in the background with nature and animals. On one of my excursions in the countryside, I have once discovered by accident a crane's nest, and that area was, of course, perfect. Within a forest, it was not really visible on the map, and it turned out to be a paradise for birds. I have never seen anything like this before, and it it was so beautiful, and there were so many swan nests and birds, and it was so peaceful. And then by accident I kept on walking, and the crane flew off, and I jumped back, and I realized that there was a crane's nest in the water, and I could have easily come back with my hiding tent and take pictures and sell them for a lot of money, of the crane babies. There were 3 eggs in there, as far as I could see it later on the picture. But what I did is, I never ever returned to that place. Never. I carry that feeling in my heart and soul of this amazing beauty and peace. So the reason why I do not name any places, or why I don't like to name it, is simply because the way you discover nature is actually the way to your pictures. If you go with a group, it's nice, and if you go with others, it's nice, or if you go to places where someone tells you you can take great pictures, it's nice. But it should be about the nature and the animals, and that you get to know them and their life. And the more you discover it, and you need to spend a lot of time in nature to discover it, the more you can connect with it, and then you start to respect them and their lives, because animals have families too, and they deserve the respect. And the more you connect, and the more you appreciate, and the more beautiful your pictures will be, especially if you don't have professional equipment. So I can only advise you to not certainly look for other photographers where they take their pictures. Just have a look on the map wherever you live, because you always have a place nearby where you can go and take pictures of animals, but you have to find them and you have to discover it. So that way, that journey is worth it. It's the most beautiful journey I can think of. So please try, and always try with love and respect.